college. That's a dream that most, if not all people, have when it comes to their post-secondary education aspirations after high school. This is already a hard pathway for many people, but especially for minorities, it is even a harder pathway to partake here in the United States. This is due for a variety of reasons, some of which include schooling and stereotypes that perceive in these minorities. This translates into them not being able to achieve these aspirations when it comes to collegiate applications due to the reasons previously mentioned. Hello, my name is Alejandro Quintero, and I will be talking about collegiate applications in minority groups today. My research question was, how do minorities compare to the general American population when it comes to collegiate applications and acceptance rates in the 21st century? More specifically, I decided to narrow this down to the United States while doing my research. My thesis is minorities when compared to the general American applicant in the area of collegiate applications and acceptance rate in the 21st century are underrepresented due to a variety of reasons. But before going into the reasoning and the claims behind my thesis, I would like to address the treatment of minorities in the United States historically, as it is something that truly affects the way that one comprehends the topic at hand. In the United States, as shown in the painting called "The Confrontation at the Bridge," which is one of the College Board sources, it's shown that minorities haven't always been treated fairly historically in the United States. As we can see in this picture, a group of African Americans are fighting for the voting rights in Alabama, as in that period of time they didn't have these rights. Apart from this situation, in another College Board source called Elise Caldwell, A Small Measure of Justice, we can see cases in the Blackfeet Indian community where Indians were mistreated by the American government as they took many valuable resources and gave them nothing to very little in return. In the graph that we can see above, we can see the enrollment in colleges from different minority and ages. As we can see in the graph, minorities have lower percentages across the board when it comes to how many people of their groups seem to be enrolling in colleges, both for male and females. But this little by little seems to be changing, as we can see that slowly but surely they are increasing little by little, as we can see in the year 2000 and then 2018. The quote on the board, which says, despite high school educational aspirations, Black enrollment in post-secondary school continues to be proportionally lower than it is for whites. In 2012, only 36.4% of the Black population between the ages of 18 and 24 were enrolled in degree-granting post-secondary institutions. Whereas for whites and Asians, the numbers were 42% and 59.8% respectively. This shows that, and this further backs up what was shown in the graph below, that minorities have been historically and as recently as 2012 have been underrepresented when it comes to college and degree granting post-secondary institutions. Moreover, most of these minorities, due to economic reasons or just simply being less fortunate, live in rural areas which don't have access to as good of education as people in rural areas have. And this greatly affects their college attainment as going to a more urban high school greatly differs from going to a more rural high school. As you can see in the graph above, 29% of college enrollees are from rural students compared to a whopping 48% which are from city students. This is something that truly affects how students are brought up. As in my research, I found that rural students don't have access to the same counselors, educational programs, and advanced classes such as AP, IB, and Cambridge courses as students that go to urban schools. This is backed up by Beyun and colleagues, as in 2012 they argued that the enrollment disparities are exacerbated by the fact that rural students are most likely to reside in under-resourced, high-poverty schools with lower level of academic rigor than their peers. This image, and this fully backs up this image, as the quote completely relates to that. But before going to my next point, I want to find a stereotype. According to Merriam-Webster, a stereotype is a standardized mental picture that is held in common by members of a group and that represents an oversimplified opinion, prejudice, attitude, or unethical judgment. This is something that greatly defines minorities. As my other point is that it's an anxiety to reinforce these stereotypes from these minorities is something that is plagued among these young minority groups. According to Richwood, anxiety may be common among ethnic minority students, as African American boys in particular, due to the stereotype or fear of reinforcing negative stereotypes about the intellectual ability of one's ethnic group. This is something that plagues vague and vastly among these minorities, as they don't want to reinforce this negative stereotype that surrounds them. My resolution is, minorities are left in a predicament as they have negative stereotypes that surround them, as if they want to attend a good college or a good post-secondary education. They have to put double the work due to the stereotypes that surrounds them and the living conditions that they're in. Thank you, and do you have any questions?
All right, 2 questions for you. First up, how valid and reliable were the sources that you used, and how do you know they were?
Personally, I know that all the sources that I use are reliable, as all of them, excluding the stereotype picture, came from JSTOR, and they're all peer-reviewed academic journals. And I also double-checked who the authors were, and they were all real people who have background in the area.
All right, and what additional questions came up as you were working through your whole thing?
Some additional questions, and mainly the main additional question that came up while I was doing my research was, simply put, why does the American government not put as much emphasis as into urban schools as they do to rural schools? As if these rural schools had more emphasis on them, they would have higher academic success, and then the students would be obviously better off, which leads to a greater society. That was really the main question that I had.